Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to share with you a match I played this morning against a gentleman from Pakistan. I'm at 866 on the climb to hopefully 900 and 1,000. Um, Started about 500. Hadn't really studied much chess other than knowing to move the pieces towards the center. But I've been watching a lot of videos and playing a lot and moving up. But I've gotten a little stymied around this 850, 900. I've been trying to study some black defenses, and one of those is the Caro-Kann. Um, and I sort of applied some of what I had been studying on that on the white side this time, I guess you could say. And it does relate to other systems, but this game came back as an 82% accuracy with no blunders and 3 great moves. I don't really think there were that many great moves in it. My opponent though had a 74% accuracy with 2 blunders, one of which was fatal. To be honest, they should have like super blunder on here. 3 mistakes. So let's go over it. In the beginning, I go for basically a Queen's Gambit type. This is what I normally play on white. He responded with this. Now, the general moves here would be that, I believe, with Queen's Gambit, possibly moving this out, possibly that. I went ahead and decided, because you can't move this pawn in there, which is one of the things with the Queen's Gambit that you want to do. I went ahead and decided to go for that position. Now this is one that ends up at the Caro-Kann on the dark, and I said, well, let me see if I can play it from the white, because I sort of have some ideas of what the Caro-Kann and other systems do some of the same moves that you might see in this. Here I decided to bring this out, which wasn't the optimal move. I believe the computer said this, possibly that, or the horse again, I believe. But I went ahead and said that so I can develop this out and get to castling fairly quickly. There's been a few times I've been trapped in some games where I couldn't castle quickly. And they said this is the Slav. They said this is the Slav defense. And apparently I played it 12 times. So he's got a slight advantage here. He brings out his horse. Now, with the Caro-Kann and other systems, you want to pin this here right away. And I hadn't been doing this in many games on white, but I went ahead and did it here because, like I said, I've been sort of looking at the reverse side of this. He brings that out to protect it, which I generally think tends to be a good move because then if you take, you develop your bishop, you're not messing up your pawn structure. Although there's a pawn missing on this file for both of us. So I brought out my horse. He brought out his horse. Sorry if I don't say the squares. I know some of you say I say this and that too much, but I haven't done that much explaining of chess matches, and I may even call pieces wrong sometimes. I went ahead and brought out my knight. So look at this position. We've already got a very symmetric position. He protected this, adding more protection to this square. We're both sort of guarding the middle and guarding these squares, and we've got the 4 knights, except for I've got this symmetric. So then I brought this pawn. My thinking behind this was I could go ahead and castle, but if I bring this pawn, I can fianchetto, and his white is locked in. His black can get there, but this will be covered that way. I actually thought about that one a while, but anyway. Now he brought his bishop out into the same thing, pinning. And I went ahead and covered it with that, with my same sort of thinking, well, I'll have that there, and that protects that. They say that's a great move. I question that a little bit, but he went ahead and castled. I went ahead and castled. So we're not trying to be symmetric, but it's ending up very symmetric. If you look here, this is exactly symmetric, except for this pawn. And of course, I had the initiative by going with white, so I go first. So incredibly symmetric. So he does that. So basically, the difference between the two positions is I have the pawn there and he has the pawn there, I believe. Although they give him a slight advantage here on the computer. But so now here's where it begins, a move that I did that creates a line of domino of piece taking to fall, which led to a culminating moment that changed the game. And this is where, when my explanations, I might get a little convoluted. I apologize if I do, where I may be going back and forth between what actually happened in the game and what the computer says should have happened. But I went ahead and did this move. I brought in the horse. My calculation, this was a break even for me or a slightly ahead, because what I believe I thought when I calculated it. Now I spent about 30 seconds just saying, well, let me plunge this in. What I calculated was this. If he retakes with this, I have that. I'm sorry, he took with that. Now I can retake with the pawn. But what I recalculated was if he takes with this, I can take with that. He could take with that. I could take with that. Something like that, and that's even, except for I have my queen developed. The other calculation I believe I did was once he took that he would, if he didn't take with this, he might do this swap. He might move this out of the way, but realize both these horses are protecting this. He might move this forward, type of thing. So I calculated if he didn't take that, and I went, let's just say he moved this here, then I went like that, then he goes like that, then we could continue swapping. Basically, it was a very triggering move. And the point about doing this earlier was that now if I had done this, remember this was one of the suggested moves from here, is this, because now if I do this, although again, they're still saying slight advantage. I don't think most people who looked at this board would say that. But anyway, now he can't recapture me immediately. So when I did this and he took this, they're giving him a big advantage, but that's if he sees the key move. The key move, I mean, I gave him an advantage. Sometimes when they show these big advantages, they're assuming that you're going to make the right move. So the move for me here was to take with the pawn, although I'm behind now, which I did. So now this is the pivotal point of the game. Or even on captures, I'm pressuring this. He can take with this, but then I will take his pawn. Sorry, I will take his knight. He can take his bishop, his dark bishop, and take mine on b5. I can take his knight, and then we'll be even. This is sort of what I had calculated. But the key move for him, the only winning move, where he ends up a piece ahead, unless there's another blunder, is to take here. Because then he is pressuring this, and I'm pressuring that. So then, and the key thing to notice is that this square attacks this rook, and this square attacks this rook. If I had noticed that, I might not have even noticed that, being on this level that we're at. So perhaps when he did that, if I had played slowly, I might have noticed that and done that. And then he can move this out of the way. He can move this out of the way, and he's up a piece. So that would have been bad. Because right now we're even. So if he takes there, he's up a piece. And basically, if I tick with this, he escapes. Or then he can escape. Then he can take that. Or then I can withdraw that. And then we're even. The key sequence for him, where he would have ended up a piece, is take. Well, let me see if I can find it. Okay, there. This is going to show you the way it should have gone. Now now let's go back. So they're basically saying, when I took, that's the blunder he made. But when I took, okay, sorry, this is where it gets complicated. When I took, he should have taken, because that triggers me. This is left hanging. That basically triggers me. This is what I would do in that situation. I would take there. This doesn't have to be recaptured by this, and that leaves this hanging. If I had spotted that and done that, he would have taken that, and then I would have taken that, and then we're even. But this is hanging. So this is the winning move, bottom line. This was the move. He didn't see it. I might not have seen it either. But because there's a bunch of multiple choices here. You see, when I took this, I'm pressuring that. He can retake with that, but that's covered by that. He can take that, but then I take with that. But then that leaves that hanging. And I know I'm saying this, that, and this, that. So he missed the key move, which I might not have seen either. He moved this horse, which is a blunder. Now the game, they're just showing even, but they're showing my best move was to take the horse, and that leads to a sequence of events. My second best move is to swap, to go ahead and do the exchange on the bishop, or at least threaten take his bishop. It's not forcing an exchange here because so many things are still under threat. Because remember, this bishop can't take this queen, and it's not hitting anything. And a really bad move would for me to have done that. Well, I first took that. Because this isn't under threat, and he immediately took back with that, which is the kind of thing on this level they do. So 11 seconds, 6 seconds, and that was a big blunder. But it's only a blunder, as you can see here, if I saw horse takes. If I'd done any other move here, he's ahead again. Not by a ton, depends on what's done. So when he moved down here, I wanted to do the exchange. But the second time around when he took that, I saw it. I may have seen it the first time around, but there's a lot of calculating. Yeah, so here I saw it, and then I said, well, I got that. If he takes that, I got that. So now I'm up a piece. They have that as a great move. Basically, seeing this. So there he does the exchange. Okay, now we're even. Now I'm up a bishop. So he blundered. He had a blunder here. He had a blunder by moving the horse because it was under threat from the pawn. His key move was that this sequence would end up with him giving a piece advantage. The others would end up with a break even. Okay. So because of that, I'm gaining a piece basically no matter what. So he's had one basically blunder, and I'm up a knight on it. Everything else is even. You can see. Other than that knight, our pawns are even. Our rooks are in the same place. Our queens. Now here's where he made this blunder. He took the knight, evening up the piece count, but he left his queen hanging. And luckily I saw it. I don't think when I took that, I didn't plan it because we were going fast here. I was taking a little longer than him. He took 1 second on that move. So once you get in this waterfall or this dominoes falling of capturing, be careful about capturing automatically. Because I'm up a piece here, he takes. Now because I took that, I'm up a piece, and he goes, oh, we're going to even it up here. But I hadn't. Okay, so then when he did that, he left his queen hanging. Now when this happened, he goes, wow, did you calculate that all? And I go, no, I calculated that it was a break even. And I had actually miscalculated because if he had played it perfectly or properly, he would have gotten a piece up. But I had calculated it was a break even when my piece is likely to end up in a slightly better position. So when I took this, I had a huge advantage. And then from there, both of us played the game out without any mistakes. So it was a well-played game. You can see there's a few like small ones, but nobody gave up. I had a queen versus a queen and 2 rooks versus 2 rooks, no queen, and we had an equal number of pawns basically in the same spots. So we played it out, and neither of us made any huge mistakes, but I ended up getting this pawn forward on the left and the far one and checkmating. So I guess my point is, and I'm sorry if my explanation was convoluted, but moving that horse in was a triggering move that triggered a whole sequence of captures. And moving the bishop in earlier would have been a safer way to do it. But he only had one response, basically, unless I blundered, that led him a piece up, and he missed it. And that gave me a piece up, which would have been somewhat fine for him, but then he blundered the queen, and I saw it. So an interesting game, I think, and it shows sort of the level. I think somebody up to maybe 1,000 may not have seen immediately the best move, maybe even above that, immediately seen the one move that really gives them a big advantage. Because if you go back to that, me moving the horse in, there was only one sequence, I believe, that led to him being a piece up. The rest of them had him in a slight advantage. All right, that's it. Hopefully that's interesting to you. And again, sorry if I don't call the squares out, and I just say this piece, but hopefully you can see it on the screen. And you can always slow it down and replay if you need to. Thanks. Have a good one.